Before we get into it, if you enjoyed these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button, and keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as, investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. All right, folks, here we are on Monday, February 17th. We're going to take a look at Roku today. So, as Roku has been apt to do, it had a big reaction to earnings just a few days ago, jumped over 14%. It is certainly still on continuing the run from down here below 50. It's now more than doubled the price. If you had bought it in August of 2024 at these lows, you would have about doubled your share price by now. But the question is, it's getting back toward $100. How much are folks going to feel like this big run, even with a solid reaction to an earnings call? How much are folks going to feel comfortable continuing to pile in, or is there going to be a bit of an uptick in sell pressure with folks trying to get out? Now, Roku has had like a real business for quite a long time. I think a lot of the uncertainty is coming in around how competitive the streaming space has gotten, and can Roku, that has maybe been around for a long time, sometimes that's not always seen as the best solution moving forward, and so does it get sort of lumped into like legacy tech or legacy company category and maybe left out in the desert to die? Or can it have a resurgence here and try to return to some of its glory days, right? I mean, this has been an incredible fall from nearly $500 here. Now, yes, these were very juicy days, so take that into consideration, of course, but July of 2021, and then it was like less than 10% of that share price by December of 2022. So you could have held this stock for like 18 months and basically had your per share price go from 490 or 400-ish to below 40. So brutal. And then it had a run from 40 a bit over 100 here, and then again a big reaction to an earnings call, dropped over 23% on this day, and that's what popped it back down below 50, and now it's once again trying to run to and through 100. So these are the levels that I have on the chart. We can zoom in a little bit to see what this reaction looked like based off of the levels. So moving here off of the 8250, and then just soaring, right? This is just a one candle soar through 88, through 92, and then getting sticky around this 97.38. So you would expect the psychological, impact of the $100 level. It's such a big level. You would expect the approach to it and the approach just over it to be fraught with resistance, because as stock is approaching it, hence 97.38, folks are wondering, is this really $100 stock? Like, do we feel comfortable continuing to buy it and pushing it toward 100? And then if it does get over 100, 103.93 is the level that I have. I think folks start to question, are we really going to hold this stock over 100, right? It's like, are we really going to push it to 100? And then are we really going to hold it over 100? And so that's what that then starts to look like. But these are the levels that I would, take and make note of if it does dip a little bit, right? 97.38, 92.79, 88.19. If it did come down, and I'm sure if you're a Roku bull, you don't want to see it drop like $10 or so, but it wouldn't be the craziest thing to me to see it take a breath and re-access these levels that it just flew through, sort of pay its due at these levels, and then try again. Now if it does get, now that it has some oomph behind it, right, it's moving off of a real catalyst, earnings, if it does have the momentum to continue the run, 103.93, it's going to have to be flipped from resistance to support. And if it can get through there, 112.26, and those are all the levels we can see it. Oh, there we go. 136 34. So huge space there. There's gonna be a lot of levels that take shape, but I didn't want to clutter things. Just put some goalposts on there and say, if things continue to feel buy side vibes, you could look for 112, and then you could look for potential for a move toward 136, but who knows how long that'll take or how frothy things might get. Now, if we pop those off for a sec and see where things are situated now EMA-wise, it is situated over the long-term EMA, so I would consider it to be in, securely bullish territory for the moment, and that, adds an added layer of sort of a safety net, if you will, of the strength of that 183. You see it here, right? It fell briefly below it, but quickly recovered, reconfirmed the recovery, and then carried on quite strongly after that. And so if it does get really dippy and gets, presses down here toward the 80 or into the 70s, you do have that 183, at least at the moment, that could provide some additional support if it needs it. But this 8, 21, and 34, all in a bullish formation at the moment, and they're going to be screaming toward the price action, and we'll see where they sort of intersect. This could be in the 90s relatively soon, and if it does start to get support off of the 8 EMA, that could again signal that there's plenty of gas left in the tank, and there is willingness to continue the bullish momentum. Pretty thin action up here since it's been quite a while. We do bring in that last period where it bumped up here, still relatively thin, right, compared to the shelving down here. A lot of that shelving is occurring in the 80s, pretty solid shelf all the way down through the mid 70s. So again, not that you want to see it come down there if you're a bull, but you have a lot of potential buyers waiting, maybe, or who, if they're not waiting, would be willing to step in with buying pressure in that range. But of course, if it does dip, it's going to depend why it's dipping, right? Buyers aren't just going to show up because they have previously. If it's falling like that, the question, of course, becomes why. I was looking here to see if there was anything interesting happening insider activity-wise. Doesn't seem to be anything out of the ordinary. This sell of 1,000 shares, it seems to be just sort of like a set it and forget it, because it's happening month over month over month. No matter how far back you scroll, you see it again and again and again. Mid-month comes in, drops 1,000. So for whatever reason that is, but yeah, it didn't look like anything tremendously out of the ordinary, but also no buyers seemingly coming in any strong form from what I can see on here, at least. Large scale orders, there's a lot that went out ahead of the earnings call, and then they piled in. So I don't know if those are some that we're thinking, whoops, should have stayed in there, or if those are new entities coming in large buy volume, but that could certainly help get this secured above 100, because if you look at the total profited shares proportion, it is all the way up into the 70s, 73.76 as of close on Friday. And so my question becomes, this isn't as crazy as some of the other stocks we've seen where it's like well into the 90s profited shares proportion, but I do start to wonder, as if it does get into the hundreds here, then it's going to engulf all of these folks and they're going to be profitable, so that's going to bump that up quite a bit. And then I do start to wonder, there's a lot of folks who had it here in the 80s, it's decent volume of folks still holding. At what point does the selling pressure come from people trying to lock in profit, and can buyers, where's the buy volume come from, right? You presume that folks aren't going to dollar cost average up in substantial numbers, at least not without a tremendously good reason, and I don't know that this earnings call would have been that reason. And so can large scale come in, can institutions step in, whatever, to try to add some buy pressure? Maybe, but I don't know that, with shares being as profitable as they are at the moment, that's going to add a lot of buy pressure, and could, of course, add some sell pressure if folks do want to lock in profit and they're sitting on something pretty nice and they didn't have to hold it for very long, and it's, let me turn this over and carry on and maybe look elsewhere for now. I don't know that that'll happen, but it's always something that I kind of, keep an eye on with situations like this. If you care at all what analysts think, we have an upper price target now of 130, average sitting right at 100 right around where it is at the moment. And there are a lot of analysts, right, who are putting out ratings on Roku, though. So my question would be, on the backs of the earnings call, do we maybe get a little bit of a windfall or a cascade of analyst ratings, the degree to which some of those, move from sell or underperform or hold into the buy category or strong buy category, and or the degree to which any of them raise their price target? Maybe it provides some additional catalyst, some additional interest for folks to come in and give Roku another look, and maybe add to some buying pressure there. I don't know, but certainly that's often following. There's already some that are coming out. Maintain neutral by UBS. So some are already flowing, and there might be a lot more that just aren't captured here on this news feed. But 32 already being out there. Like I said, that's a lot. So if there is a cascade of those, maybe that will add, sort of prolong the earnings catalyst, if you will. TTM squeeze indicator triggered, fired, and then re-triggered and refired, and that's where we got the big move right now. So still kind of playing that out. We'll see if that can continue to take shape. The histogram here pretty lumpy, but if this wants to play out like an actual trigger and fire, an actual re-trigger and refire on the TTM squeeze indicator, things might get really volatile in the coming days, but that's only if it plays out. Now, levels wise, we do see it coming within about $1 of the +1 ATR level for February. So really good motion there, really good leveling by this setup that I have on here. Call trigger for February is at 88.23, and above that, the +1 ATR 105.92. You see that right here, and it came within, like I said, a little less than $1 of that. So can it continue to push to and through it? Maybe, but if it does want to secure that +1 ATR, then it could put in a little bit more green energy. If it does dip, put triggers all the way down at 77.29, which would be quite crazy for it to get there before February is out, but who knows. -1 ATR down all the way at 59.60. If things stay about where they are getting into March, that call trigger is at 104.59, and it does have a +1 all the way up to 122.44. So not quite all the way to that, what do we have on here, 136 or something, to the upside. I don't know how I can get that back on the screen. You can rewind it, I guess, if you want, but not quite as high as that sort of upper target that we had on this leveling on Webull, but it gives you some nice additional levels in there where there's space on the Webull chart. You can fill them in with this 113.51, 122.44, but if Roku decides to surge or decides to pull back a little bit, these will adjust because they are dynamic. So just keep that in mind. All right, folks, I hope that you had a nice day off and that you have a nice trading week ahead. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.